Hey, everybody, welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. Very happy to be part of the Variety Sports Network, and thanks everybody for working with us this week. I'm not going to go into details. My internet line was cut, and they replaced it yesterday, and so we're back and at it. And also, best wishes to everybody down in Florida as well. We did hear from Ellie, our very good friend of the show. She, her family did fine. Everybody around them lost power. The good people at Deck Roofing down there in South Florida, they had a little bit of breeze and a little bit of rain, and they said it was just another day down there. So it definitely puts it in perspective when you lose internet and you get all pissed off about it. And then when you think what those folks are going through, like in the Carolinas and in Florida, and it's like, yeah, I think I'll survive for 24 hours without the internet. So I agree, Ian. I think it was very clandestine, whoever did it, jackasses. But we were just lamenting a moment ago. Maybe lamenting isn't the right word, but we were laughing about the fact that if we do this show like right after every game, the FCC would probably come after us because we were very emotional. I think all of us were, some to different levels, based on what we saw on Sunday night. Of course, it didn't help that the game was delayed, an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 40 minutes because of lightning in the area. Some people's answer to that was we just need to build a dome and have a dome stadium. And, that'll take care of it. Ian, your thoughts as a season ticket holder, would you like a dome stadium?
Absolutely not. No, football should be played in the snow.
Thank you. Done. Over. It should be played in the elements.
Yes.
Rain, snow, sleet, heat. I don't care what it is. That's what it should be played
I do understand delaying for lightning because that is a safety hazard, not only for the people on the field, but the people in the stand. So I get that. But
yes.
Other than lightning,
God bless those guys that were out there dancing in the rain. That was fantastic.
and
that was wonderful entertainment.
The guy wearing the Derek Watt jersey.
Yeah.
That was outstanding.
You ever drank all day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those late games, man, you get primed a little earlier than normal. But the nice thing is, the interesting thing, when Ben and I, back in our glory days, when there was lightning out, the coaches just looked up and said, "Okay, boys, 10 minutes more of practice because we're going to have a little bit more light." And things have changed. I'm not saying the way we did it was the right way.
No,
it's just the
you're
way
gonna run
we
some
did
extra ones because you're gonna run some extra sprints because it cools you off as you're running. It's fine. It's better.
Yep. It'll be fine. Anyway, the Steelers have lost 2 straight after starting the season 3-0. And that was a tough one on many levels on Sunday, simply because of the fact it was the Dallas fucking Cowboys.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melvin.
That's why everybody was so fucking emotional. It's the Dallas fucking Cowboys.
Yeah, I think had that
Dallas.
Yeah, had that been the
especially like that
49 I don't know, the Rams or something, I don't think anybody gets as upset about it. I mean, we're pissed that they lose, but
4th and 5, and there are 2 obvious holds on the play, which I don't think you're gonna get. I'm sorry.
No, you're not in that situation.
You're not gonna get that call.
No.
But there were 2 obvious holds in the play, and they didn't get called. They didn't call them. And 4th and 5 with practically no time left,
Yeah. And I'm going to give Tolbert, I thought, made a great catch because Deshaun Elliott recovered and got his hand in there and easily could have knocked that ball away. And Tolbert gripped it and hung on. And more power to him. They executed at the right time. And that
Big
was
Ben's
that.
burner. You should probably just fucking move then. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you and Melvin can share on moving expenses and just get the hell out of there, because that's not going to be good. But it's kind of interesting. It seems like every time they come here, they win. Every time we go there, we win. So at least in recent history. But what are you going to do? Yes, it is a cool shirt. If you can't see what Ben is wearing, he's wearing a very pretty red shirt with a heart on it, and it says "Swearing might help." And if anyone knows swearing, it's him. Ryan Scarpino, who who gets the start on Sunday? We know it's going to be Justin Fields, but should it be Justin Fields?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I've noticed that when you respond with "that's a really good question," that's always a buffer to give you time to answer.
Totally understand.
Because I was
like
I was a little surprised you let off with that.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't think Justin Fields has been spectacular. But okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Justin Fields has been spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they trust him.
No, clearly.
I think that Russ can do things Fields can't, and Fields can do things Russ can't.
Correct.
But what they want to do, Russ is better suited to do it. But since Russell's hurt and is coming back,
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to be fair to Fields. I think regardless of, unless Justin Fields has an amazing game this Sunday, and I'm talking 300 yards, 3 to 4 touchdowns, Russell Wilson will start next week for the Steelers. And is that fair? No. But as Mike Tomlin says all the time, life ain't fair.
Yeah, and before I get Ben your take, I will just say very, very quickly, Fields was interviewed this week and handled things extremely professionally.
Yeah.
Great.
Something that other players
good
on that
dude.
team. Yeah, very good. Ben, what do you think heading into this one?
I think that Fields has been efficient for the most part before last week within what he was asked to do, in particular in the second half against the Colts. And I think they're looking for that. I also think that I don't think they want to go to Russ. I think they want Fields to get it and to be the guy so that they have a long-term answer at the position.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're convinced that he's that guy. I agree with Scarps. I don't think they trust him. And then they're trying to give him a trimmed down playbook and ask him to manage half the field and manage the offense, but not really be the guy.
Sorry, Ben.
In the hopes that he will eventually be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the old adage? Hope is not a strategy. I don't think he's got to play a great game this week, but he's got to play because he's playing against Aiden O'Connell. Okay. But he's got to play at least pretty decent ball inside what they're asking him to do. He's got to be efficient. And God, he's got to make better decisions, man.
Yeah.
Like he had 2 good options on plays. He had option 1, option 2, and he went to option 3, which was the worst fucking decision you could make. It's like, dude, this is shades of Chicago Fields, and the other thing he does, and you've been on this about him since the very beginning, Mark.
Yep.
Ball security.
Yep.
Don't hold the ball with one hand away from your body. 2 hands on the ball, close to your chest. 2 hands on the ball, close to your chest.
Yep.
Until you're ready to pull the trigger right here.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like that drives me fucking insane.
Ian, I'm going to throw it to you for your take on this. I would just add one more thing. That if you could take the good intangibles of Fields and the good intangibles of Wilson, you might have the perfect quarterback. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And again, I asked this question too with the thought in mind that Wilson seems ready to go, and we don't know that he's 100%, but they are elevating him to the backup this week, so he's obviously a lot closer. So, Ian, how would you approach this?
I think the question is not who starts this week because we know who's starting. It's who finishes this week. And if Justin Fields comes out and plays another first half like he did this past week, where we basically pick up no first downs, we might eke out 3 points right before halftime, then I think there's a compelling case to consider making a switch at halftime to try and jumpstart the offense if it looks lackadaisical once again.
Ian, I'm going to stay with you. Melvin asked the question, does the play calling change with Russ Wilson? And I would posit that to you.
So, okay, does the play calling change? No. Not the only thing I think that changes is some of those designed quarterback runs, which we actually saw a few of last week, and I kind of liked. I think those go away, but there still could be packages for Fields where they put Fields in. Like if you get into a 3rd and 2 situation, put Justin Fields and let him run that read option. I have no problem with that, even if Russ is the quote unquote starter. Let Fields take a couple, let Fields come in at 1st and goal from the 4-yard line and run a read option and see if he can run it. That's fine by me. If we put the ball in the end zone, I don't care who does it.
Right.
So the other thing I'll say is there was a really good clip on Twitter this week from Kurt Warner talking about how quarterbacks these days are not taught to read defenses. They're taught to just go through their progressions. And it's why you see veteran quarterbacks, whether it be Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton or whoever it is, have tremendous success more so than rookies or young players, because those older guys have been around for a while and actually know how to read a defense and know what kind of concepts will work against certain defenses, so know where to go with the ball. And Russ is one of those guys who's been around for a long time. So does the play calling change? No. Does Russ make better decisions with the ball?
Right.
Yes, because he actually knows how to read a defense.
Yes.
So I think that's the bigger change. So it may look like the play calling is different, but it might just be the quarterback's putting the ball in a different place.
I agree. And, I titled this
Don't
particular.
tell Steelers Twitter that, though.
No, for God's sakes. I titled this particular episode, I Know How Phil Connors Feels. And any of you that have seen Groundhog Day, you know what I'm talking about, because that's what I felt like on Monday morning. I'm like, here we go again. I'm like, this season feels like the last several seasons where it's just the same pattern all the time. And, but I guess as it relates to
getting fed up, man.
Yeah.
Really
and I think Mike DeFabo, if I'm not mispronouncing his name, I apologize. At The Athletic, they do a weekly thing, a kind of a wraparound with the 4 different writers from the 4 teams in the AFC North. And, he was asked a question about, coaches on the hot seat. And he said, look, Tomlin's not on the hot seat. There's no coach in North America that's on less of a hot seat. But he did admit there is a lot of groundswell amongst the fans that what the hell is going on here with some of these things. And I'm not going there yet.
Let's address it a little bit from the standpoint that there have been moments in the last few years when there were some minority owners,
yes,
who questioned retaining Tomlin.
Yep.
And when that gains enough speed, that may be a problem. Now, Art's response the last time a couple or 3 of them wanted to meet with him and discuss why Tomlin was being retained was, if you are unhappy with the decisions I'm making, I'll be happy to find a buyer for your shares.
Yep.
It won't be a problem.
No, it will not be.
And
it will not be.
That was the end of the conversation.
Long line.
So that could be the answer too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I again, this isn't speculative in terms of, anything about his security or anything at all. This is just about fans getting a little worn out. And he also, DeFabo also made comments about, it's almost become a joke, the whole non-losing seasons thing. It's kind of a neat streak, but most fans are like, yeah, can you sprinkle a few postseason wins in there at the same time?
I honestly, would you guys, it would be disappointing not to make the playoffs. It would.
Yeah.
But honestly, if they finished 8-9 this year and they actually had a fucking losing season, we didn't have to talk about this anymore.
Oh, I know where you're going.
The Steelers aren't a contender this year anyway. I'm sorry. They're not. I don't give a shit who you add. You could add Devontae Adams and Brandon Ayuk tomorrow. It wouldn't fucking matter. Okay.
They
No,
technically could.
The offensive line is young and or mediocre.
And hurt.
The running backs are mediocre or hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The wide receivers are shitty, but if you added those two guys, they'd be markedly better. And the quarterbacks are who the fuck knows? We don't know what we're going to get week to week with the quarterback play. So it's like, all I'm saying straight up is this team is not a contender for a Super Bowl anyway. So if they went 8-9 and the non-losing season streak was over, we could all stop talking about it. We'd all be relieved. And probably Mike Tomlin would be too.
I think Mike Tomlin is the one that cares the least about it, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, he's got to hear it all the time, Ryan.
I don't know. I want to say a lot of things.
I know you
I'm
do.
shocked.
No, and I know. Well, and I said I told you guys in the chat I'm going to go full heel, but it's not even so much. Hi Jen. It's not even so much as me going full heel as much as it's me. I'm literally I'm not speaking like I'm not. This isn't some crazy conspiracy theory or some outlandish.
Ryan's getting ready to put on the tinfoil hat. Here we go.
Outlandish opinion here, but if you actually watched Arthur Smith the last 3 years in Atlanta, and Ben, I know you hate fantasy football, but if you play fantasy football, you realize that when you have players on other teams, you're more invested in other games. Bottom line is, Arthur Smith didn't know how to use Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. He drafted Desmond Ridder in the top 10. He went 7-10, 3 straight years as the primary play caller. And I brought this up when he was hired. I said he was a safe hire, and I brought those facts up. And you know what everybody told? You know what Steelers Sunshine Twitter told me? I don't know ball. Well, you're looking at Matt Canada Jr. right now because
the thing that's funny about that hire is they brought him in because they thought that he was tailor-made for Kenny Pickett.
Yes. And
what? A few months later, Kenny's gone.
Yes. And
was
then
a few months.
No. So, and then you combine that with the previous coordinator who shouldn't have gotten the job. And there was always this sort of, well, Mike is actually telling him, Mike's holding him back. So if Mike's holding Canada back and he's holding Arthur Smith back, is there some truth to that? I think maybe there is. And a couple weeks ago, I said, I don't know. I think there might be here because they're so scared to turn it over on offense. They're so fucking scared. And they have double-digit points at halftime once this year, and that's 10 against the Broncos. And, yeah, you know what? The Broncos are starting to come together. Their offense isn't very good, but their defense is actually playing a little bit better than I thought. And then we get back to Mike Tomlin overall. Okay, let's talk about Mike Tomlin overall. And last year was the first year I had the nuts to say on Sunshine Twitter that maybe Mike isn't right for the job anymore. And I'd like to ask the panel here, the group, how do you think that went over when I said that?
Like a fart in church.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much what I was thinking.
And well, who else?
Although, as someone who has had children fart in church,
that's fair.
There's a few people that laugh at that. I've not done it myself, but I've had children that have done it. So
that's fair. But who else are we gonna get? He'll get a job.
See,
in 5 minutes, he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, and those are the exact talking points that the national media says about him all the time. But guess what? The only difference, and Ian's going to love this because we talked about this, the only difference between Tomlin and John Harbaugh, Mike McCarthy, who just beat him again, Pete Carroll, and Sean McVay.
Sean Payton.
I almost said Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Because I would take Sean McVay in a heartbeat right now. But Sean Payton is non-losing seasons. But yet, every one of those coaches has been either fired or questioned constantly for their analytics or treated like a buffoon, but Mike Tomlin is this media darling because, he's cool, he's hip, he's a player's coach. Oh, all of a sudden the player's coach can't get a fucking guy under wraps and reel him in. And we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about 14. I hope we're going to talk about 14.
Oh, we're going to get to 14.
But
we're going to get to 14.
They got a bad
Lima
formula.
Swede?
They got a bad, yes.
Lima Swede.
They got a bad
Sammy Coates.
formula and a bad combination right now with Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith because, in my opinion, Mike Tomlin is way too involved in the offense, and he's way too involved in the defense.
So let me get Ian involved here. And the only other thing I'm going to suggest
Post my comment.
Just a minute. The only other thing I would suggest related to what Scarps just said about the offensive coordinators, could you also apply that to Terrell Austin?
Oh, fuck, yes. Terrell Austin's horrible.
Ian, go.
Okay, Ian, go. You just set me up with this one.
I absolutely set you up.
This is like playing slow pitch softball. It's like, here, hit this as far as you fucking can. So the one thing I will say about Arthur Smith before I go off on Terrell Austin is, and I said this on Twitter, and I got some pushback, which surprised me, but maybe it shouldn't because, the Lollipop Guild is very, very set in their ways, and
Lollipop Guild
you can't question anything the black and gold does. But I said, maybe Arthur Smith is just a mediocre offensive coordinator who happened to have an alien in his backfield for 3 years when he was in Tennessee.
Yep,
and that makes a bit of a difference. I mean, Derrick Henry is pushing 30 years old and is still out there running over people in overtime against, I know the Bengals have a terrible defense, but he rattled off that run in overtime.
Yeah.
That it looked like he was fresh out of the gate in the first quarter. Like, his endurance and what Henry's been able to do over time is just
he's impressive.
He is incredibly impressive. I'm pissed as hell the Ravens have him. At any rate, okay. So, maybe we've talked a lot over time about, do coaches make players or do players make coaches? Well, this very well could be a situation where a running back made an offensive coordinator look like he knew what he was doing.
Maybe. But he also resurrected Tannehill's career.
Yeah. He did a bit.
Yeah.
But okay. But when a defense has to stop Derrick Henry and put 7 or 8 or 9 guys in the box to stop the alien you have in the backfield, your play action passes are going to be open. So
and they had really good receivers as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing that is missing in Pittsburgh is we got one guy, and you don't know when he's going to play, when he's going to take a snap off, when he's actually going to play hard. He doesn't run block. You know that, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Wrong.
The guy admits he can't block. He thinks it's funny that people think he can. Hey, Claude, how's it going?
Good evening, Claude.
All right, so on to the defense.
The shitty fucking defensive, the shitty play calls and the lack of communication in the defensive backfield.
So I'm going to bounce it back to again what Scarp said about Tomlin involved with these offensive coordinators. I tend to believe the same thing goes on with Terrell Austin, and Tomlin is just so terrified of getting torched, giving up these big plays that he constantly is just rushing for, sitting back with 7. Granted, the 7 don't know what in the holy hell they're doing half the time because some guys are in man, some guys are in zone, some guys don't know what zone they're in. It's crazy.
You can run combo
creativity.
coverage.
You can, but you know what I mean.
Right. There is zero creativity on this defense right now. They are sitting in a cover 2 shell. And I tweeted early in the game, I was like, if we're just going to sit in cover 2 all game, Dak is going to light us up because Dak's been around. Same principle as Joe Flacco, right?
Yes.
Dak's been around the league for a while. And if he sees cover 2, he's like, well, I know how to beat this. I know what route concepts we can run. And they kept hitting those hole shots. But really what they were doing was they were running a tight end up the seam to hold the one safety in the middle of the field to keep that, the fly route or the 9 route on the sideline open. And some of the times you had like Dante Jackson or whoever the outside corner was, Jackson specifically on one play, where he
Right.
was like, well, I've got this guy, but I'm in a short zone. And even though there's nobody else on this whole half of the friggin' field, I'm just going to let my guy go and cover an area rather than covering an actual guy who could catch the ball. The last time I checked, grass can't catch a football, but a guy can catch a football. And Jackson just let the guy keep running, being like, "Oh yeah, Minka's back there." Meanwhile, down the middle of the
expected
field,
help over the top,
Yes,
and
he did.
it wasn't there.
Well, it wasn't there because Terrell Edmonds blew the coverage to the tight end in the middle.
Sucks.
So Minka had to stay closer to the hash marks to cover the tight end that Edmonds just let run right past him.
Edmonds
and then all of a
this
sudden,
week, you guys know this, yes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He
Can't
has
wait.
to. He has to play.
Yeah.
And Bishop was a complete liability as well. He has been really the last 2 weeks. I mean, he has some plays, but then he just
Bishop is a guy who plays well on early downs. If he gets a pass breakup, that's a bonus, man.
Yeah.
They really need to get Cam Sutton back.
And
I mean,
that,
it's 8 games. We know when he's coming back, but
serious? Are you serious? You think Cam Sutton's gonna
be better than what they have right now? Yes.
Yeah. We shit on him when he left. We shit on him all last year and when he played for the Lions. And then, oh, by the way, he is a domestic abuser. But he's really going to help this team when he comes back.
He's not going to be playing on the outside on an island.
He better not be.
I love how we all just skip over the fact that he literally pled guilty and he took a plea deal.
But Ryan, we can't do anything about that. The Steelers made
Yeah.
the decision. They made the decision.
That's
to sign
fair.
him.
Okay,
Right.
that's fair.
We can only discuss who's on this team, and
That's fair. That is fair.
I'm with you. I'm not crazy about it either.
I'm dialing back the heel. I don't have a lot of faith in Cam Sutton based on the fact that
he didn't
not going to
plead
be playing for
I want to be clear about this, just because anybody who's listening to the show, I want them to know he did not plead anything. He's in a diversion program.
He did plead, did he not?
He pled to a misdemeanor that goes away if he completes a diversion program.
Correct. It was a misdemeanor.
So
he did plead.
So basically, in talking to somebody here who is an assistant district attorney, he's like, yeah, it couldn't have been that bad because no DA is going to agree to that deal. Remember the original reports were that he grabbed her by the neck and threw her off a balcony or something?
Yeah, it was very violent. Yeah.
And he's like, no, if it involved choking or throwing her off of a balcony, there's no way he would have gotten adult diversion.
Agreed.
It would be a felony, and the DA would never go for anything less. So whatever it was she said, the evidence didn't match that, and so he got adult diversion as a result. Right. But yeah, the being on the lam for 2.5 weeks before he turned himself in finally, no, it didn't.
One more point on Terrell Austin too.
Yeah.
That not only are we like just rushing for and sitting back in completely vanilla coverage and just letting guys run around wherever, and we're covering grass, not covering men, but also this week with two outside linebackers injured.
Yeah.
Someone in the media did their job and asked Austin if he was going to have to bring other pressures. And his answer was such weak bullshit. He was just like, well, we could bring pressures from other places, but we choose not to. And the guys out there are just going to have to get pressure, was basically what he said, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, they're going to use Isaiah Loudermilk as an outside linebacker if they need to. It's like what the crap are they doing? They're basically, their defensive scheme is basically, we hope TJ Watt makes a good play. And he often does make a good play, but he doesn't make a good play 75 times a game. And when you ask, any defense to play 75 snaps, that's insane.
Way too
to
many
expect
snaps.
them to be able to stop someone in the fourth quarter. And really, the defense was the only reason that they were still in the game in the fourth quarter, because they got those really three red zone turnovers. There was the blocked field goal plus 2 red zone interceptions. That game could have been a lot worse than it actually was. If it wasn't for the defense.
Big time.
You're exactly right. We love to talk about almost points. Well, Dallas left 14-17 on the field, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they did. And getting back to TJ Watt, and I said this earlier this week, and I was very vocal on the old Twitter sphere, the artist formerly known as Twitter sphere this week.
I'm shocked.
Because you know what? Oh, come on, Ben. Jesus Christ. But, it can't always be TJ Watt or bust on defense. And it is. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say that every time I get mad at a player that holds out or whatever, if I'm TJ Watt right now, I'm telling the Steelers to pay me $500 million or requesting a trade because I can't do any more for this organization. And you know what? I know I don't say I bust his balls, but I bring up that he's never won a playoff game. And I bring up that Cam Hayward has only won one playoff game. Boz has 2 as Steeler. Cam has 1. But you know what? Mike Tomlin owes so much to TJ Watt. He really, really does. And if I'm TJ, man, the PR answer is, I love this place. I love my coach. I want to stay here and win. But you know what? What did his older brother ever win by giving good? And you know what? His older brother won way more playoff games than he did and way more Defensive Player of the Year awards. So, anyway, my point being is that it can't always be on TJ, whether it's Minka, who isn't playing well right now, or Patrick Queen, the con artist, he Patrick Queen. This defense is overrated. Ben laughs at his own comments.
He does.
This defense is
that guy.
overrated.
I do. I was waiting for Aaron to chime in.
And they are not elite, as everyone told us after 3 games.
Well, I can't sit here and say that Minka is playing great by any stretch. The amount of money he's being paid, he has to make some splash plays. I'm sorry. You got to make some interceptions. You got to force fumbles. You got to do something. And it's just been too long since he has done that. And I agree with you, Scarps. I think everybody just kind of says, okay, well, TJ is going to make a play now. And it just, I mean, did you see how gassed that poor guy was at the end of that game the other night? I mean, after Herbig left, Leal left. I mean, he must have felt like he was out there all by himself at one point.
I think that last play, he was probably really fucking pissed because the guy was behind him pulling on his jersey. And he couldn't get a call. And I like I said before, I don't think you're getting that call in that situation. But it's shit like that all day long. And the arm bar across the neck
drives me insane.
Well, that's legal because of the hump move, and basically this is the hump move exception that's been written into it. So I mean, who they actually made that rule or that exception for James Harrison, because he's only 5'11",
right?
And every single tackle he ever went up against, he tried to just go under the guy, and the guy would
that was the only way they could handle him. Yeah, I think we can look at this and say, the sky is falling and everything else. At the same time, we can say they're 3-2. It could be worse. But to me, I look at the way Baltimore's playing. Baltimore could very easily be 5-0 right now. And thankfully they're not. And there's just, when I see the communication issues that I saw in that secondary, when I see the problems we have on offense, I don't know how long this can be sustained.
The offense isn't really that surprising for me.
No.
The defense is disappointing. The offense, it's like, okay, whatever. But, again, as Ian pointed out, getting 2 red zone turnovers in the same game is no small feat.
It's not, but can we all agree what in the hell was Dak doing throwing that pass that Dante Jackson intercepted? I mean, what in the world was going on there? That was just a gift.
It was.
It was a gift.
Most of their turnovers this year have been gifts. Kirk Cousins handed it to him multiple times.
Yeah.
Bo Nix threw it right to Corey Trice. Dak a couple different times.
Yeah, usually though that kind of is I'm sorry for lack of a better way of putting it. It's not some guy seeing it and jumping a route. It's a situation like that where you're in the right place at the right time and you're around the ball. And when those situations present themselves, you have to capitalize. You can't drop the interception.
True.
And that's happened this year too. Patrick Queen, how many fucking picks should he have?
Or at least two.
At least two.
Or Justin
Fields. JPJ should have one or two more than he has.
He has one.
Yeah.
Justin
it was
Fields
a nice
the
play.
other night.
Nice play. So let's talk about 14.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, we're on a roll here, baby. Let's just keep going. As things were unfolding on Sunday night, Ben, what was going through your mind in terms of why in the hell isn't 14 in this game plan? Oh, wait, why isn't he in the game? I mean, what were you thinking?
Well, I'd seen a few times where he was loafing on plays, and I just assumed that it was a punishment. That he'd been pulled, right, and that it was a punishment. So, and then watching the film later, I'm like, dude, what the fuck was that? What the fuck?
It's embarrassing. Some of the lack of effort.
Inexcusable.
Yeah.
At any level. At the fucking high school level, that shit's inexcusable. In the NFL, are you kidding me?
No. And to Aaron's point, and Ryan, you've said this a million times, AB always gave effort.
Oh, I mean, dude, it was AB
worked his ass off.
Busted his motherfucking ass.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there were times he was frustrated, but he never did that kind of shit.
And to Ryan's point, because I know he's going to make it, and I'm going to trounce and make it for him. Steelers Twitter is going, well, if you were in that offense and you had to play in there and it was ruining your career, you'd be pissed too, and you'd do the same thing. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit.
But I wouldn't stop working.
Neither would I. Let me put it another way. Does anybody think Hines Ward would take plays off because he was pissed off because the offense sucked and it was ruining his fucking stats?
No, the easy answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're again.
I mean, I can see him fucking getting upset and getting into people's faces and talking about people's effort, making a better effort. But would he fucking take plays off? Never.
And
never.
That's what this team is missing. I really think they're, especially offensively, they are missing a hammer. They are missing a guy who's willing to get after other people. And I'm stunned, and Scarps, you mentioned this early on. The fact that not one other player, not one coach, not a team official said anything to George Pickens about his eye black. Okay. I mean, Cam Hayward was fined, wasn't he, for putting his dad's name or something on his eye black years ago?
He put Ironhead on
2015. 2015.
Yeah, we're talking 9 years ago.
2015, and I was there for that, and I thought that was total bullshit.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
So many things I want to say right now. I if I was 97 or 90 or even Minka, I would have beat his ass. I would have smacked the shit out of him. I would have not let him out of the locker room. And you know what? This is a culture problem. It's a culture issue. Mike Tomlin has always had veterans on his roster that have won something, and he hasn't had them for years now.
Yep.
And what have they done? Not won a playoff game since 2016. George Pickens is entitled. He's been entitled his whole life. He's immature. 2016 season, 2017 calendar year.
I'm sorry.
But the bottom line is that Pickens, fails at the things he can control.
Yes.
Body language, effort,
Good point.
attitude, being a good teammate.
Effort and
you know
attitude
what?
more than anything.
Showing
man.
up
Come
on time.
Showing up on time.
Yeah.
And
watching fucking film, being prepared, knowing your assignments.
And I like
he's probably like Aaron. He's probably home playing that NCAA football all the time.
He plays the wrestling games just like Aaron.
And so this week I had a variety of people combat my commentary on Pickens, and they said, "Oh, it's not even about the eye black. It is about the eye black. When you put that on your eye black, you are making it a story.
Yes.
You are making it about yourself. You're making it more than the team. Literally, how fucking childish do you have to be to do that shit? But you know what, though? It gets you likes on Instagram. It gets you likes on social media.
The retweets.
And that's all that these younger fans care about. They don't give a shit about winning. They don't give a shit about the standard. And I actually do feel bad for Mike Tomlin in this instance because he always talks about the standard is the standard. Do you think Mike Tomlin doesn't want to win Super Bowls and doesn't want to win playoff games? No, of course he does. He wants to win those things. But as Cowher said, there's a fine line. And Mike understands that, okay, arguably my most talented player on offense is a nutbag. He's a head case. He only cares about himself. But he doesn't buy in. And you know what's funny is the first couple weeks people were like, "Oh, isn't it amazing how mature George Pickens is?" Huh? Yeah, because they're 3-0, right? They're 3-0, and then they lose a couple in a row, and all of a sudden he goes off the way. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right now. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't care if George Pickens has 500 receiving yards on Sunday. I am done with him. I want him gone. You do not win with guys like that. And you know what? I guarantee you some asshole on Twitter will tag me and say, "Fuck you, Ryan." And I really don't care anymore because I'm tired of all these. No. I'm tired of all these jagoffs on Twitter mentioning my name and saying this and that because you know what? I don't care about being right. But I'm just going to say you do not win with guys like George Pickens. You win with guys like Hines Ward.
I agree. And I'm going to add this. Ben, you're old enough to remember a guy by the name of Jim McMahon. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Jim McMahon used to wear headbands and he used to put messages on them. Yeah. Very similar to the eye black thing.
Knowing he was going to get in
trouble. But the one difference, his team won. They won games. It was a different story because of that fact. If you aren't producing and you're not winning, then that's the story. The eye
Remember
black
when he put Roselle on a headband?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he just called him right out, you know. And as far as D. Drew's 1914, is that what that is? Yeah, I don't think he's getting a second contract.
Oh no.
I want to answer that question this way.
Yeah,
he's incredibly talented, and I hope he pulls his head out of his ass and gets a second contract. But I'm dubious that it's going to happen.
Okay, Ian. 2-3 weeks from now, Omar Khan gets an offer for George Pickens. Do you entertain it?
What is it? This is the thing I always go back to. Well, two things. One. What's our record at the time?
Exactly.
Yes.
Are we still in
Are we 3-5?
Right. And two, is it someone who helps you win now, or is it a draft pick for later? If someone offered me Devonta Adams for George Pickens, I might consider that, even though Adams is older, but he's been around. He knows how to comport himself as a pro. He's a little bit of a diva, but maybe we'll see. But if we lose two more in a row and we're 3-5 and then staring down the back half of the schedule, it's like, well, this is going to be a bitch. And someone offers you like a second round pick, then you're like, yeah, maybe we take this deal here. So yeah, I think you leave your options open. I think more likely
drafted him with a second, though. I mean,
yeah, but Here's the other thing, though. So Ryan's point is very well taken about lack of leaders on this team. The other thing is all the veterans on this team are on defense. Russell Wilson is the veteran in the offensive room, but he's only been with the team for like 6 months, right? And he's not even playing right now. So how much he can't be out there in the huddle and grab a guy by the face mask and be like, shape the fuck up and run your route.
There is one guy.
Can we say the quiet part out loud real quickly?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. The challenge here with Pickens in particular, in my opinion, and probably with a bunch of young offensive guys, is that last year Deontay Johnson cussed out a number of teammates and coaches and purposely undermined them. Well, he didn't get away with it.
Ultimately, he did not.
Well, ultimately, he did not get away with it. But it was they let him keep playing last year, even though he was doing that. And the guys he was cussing out and getting into fights with, Minka, were team leaders. And Pickens saw that. And it sets a precedent. And I personally think the only way to get this motherfucker's attention is to sit him. Do I think they will do that? No, I do not. But they should.
Does anybody buy into what's that?
So lean forward so we can hear you.
Yeah.
My bad.
The one other thing I was going to say before Mark asked this question is that given the fact that they really don't have any veteran leaders on the offense that have been around for a while, all the veteran leaders are on this team are on defense. And, during the week in meetings, all that stuff, you're kind of segregated a little bit between offense and defense. That you kind of need those guys on both sides of the ball. When the Steelers were winning things, you had guys on both sides of the ball. You had a Hines Ward on offense. You had a Heath Miller on offense. You had guys on the offensive line like Alan Faneca and, even after Faneca, other guys that had been around for a long time to kind of, if there was other guys being shitheads to kind of keep them in line and, pull them back in. But you had those guys on both sides of the ball. It wasn't just, we've got a defense with Polamalu and Harrison and Ferrier and Aaron Smith and all these great leaders. No, you had those guys on both sides of the ball, and the offense just doesn't have that right now. And maybe over time they develop that. Maybe you get Zach Frazier and Troy Fatanu and Broderick Jones all actually playing in their proper spots and all being healthy and things like that. But you know what? James Daniels is now the longest tenured member of this offense. Is that right?
And he's on the injured reserve.
Longest tenured. No.
Najee is.
Najee would be.
Yeah. But even him, like, he's kind of up and down, and it's.
Here's the one thing, real quick, Ben. The one guy, Isaac Seumalo. I mean, he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's played with veterans before. I thought he would be more of that role, but if that's not who he is, I'm not going to knock him for it.
He just got on the field for the first time this past
that's
week
also
too,
right. That's also true, Ian. I can't deny that.
What we had last year was a guy with a very large contract who was playing every week and giving a fucking half-assed effort and being a pain in the ass. When a fucking defensive lineman has to go to a wide receiver meeting to put a guy in his place, and said guy is like, fuck you, I'm not doing what you said, you can kiss my ass. And said wide receiver and his protege, who still is on the team, are late frequently for meetings, and there's no repercussion. There's no real repercussion. Those guys were fined a lot of money. They were fined a lot of money. But, last year, DJ just went ahead and paid Pickens fines, and this year, maybe that's not the case, but Pickens is looking at it long term. Fuck it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to make a lot of money. Wide receivers are making $35 million a year. I don't care. I'm set anyway. I have to ride this thing out until I can get someplace with real offense.
So therefore, Ben, do you believe then that the best way to get across to him is not fining him thousands of dollars? It's actually sitting his ass on Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And the fans would fucking erupt.
Yep.
And the owner might not like that either. But to me, that is the only way. You make him inactive. You say, okay, you're going to do this. We're making your ass inactive. All right. And now you're the story. Now you can answer as to why you got benched, because we're not telling them. You can tell them.
Yep.
Well, even this week, you guys referenced how Justin Fields handled the question with the media of, well, does it put more pressure on you now that Russ is getting healthy? And I thought he handled it great. He was great. He was like, hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm going to just, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to put the work in. Whatever the coaches decide is what's going to happen. But, I'm going to keep working hard and doing my best. And compare that to, Pickens getting asked about his play count and his snap count, and him just being like, well, whatever Art decides, it's out of my control. I'm not going to do anything different. He just gave like this bullshit answer was just like, he was basically like, I didn't do anything wrong. Whereas like it was night and day, the difference in maturity between the two guys.
And I want to make a point about that real quick, Ian, because there is absolutely no way that Steelers PR told him to say that. And that
hell no, God, I would hope not.
And that to me is even a bigger concern, because they absolutely briefed him on what to say and what not to say. So the fact that he said that, he doesn't fucking care and doesn't listen. And that is a problem, because during my time there, and I want to make this clear, like Antonio Brown was not was he a problem? Yeah, but nobody on that team ever questioned his effort or intensity attitude until that season when he finally went nuts. Okay. But Pickens clearly is all about himself. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. This dude is all about himself. And when you put that on your eye black and you go out there, and just I mean, like it's just so childish and it's so entitled. And I want to say this, but like, Bert Loughton is the Steelers PR director, and he's been there a long, long time, and he was my boss. And regardless of whatever, disagreement we've ever had, I actually feel bad for the guy, because I know what he's telling George Pickens to say. And George Pickens is not fucking saying what he's telling him to say. And that is so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And believe me, there have been plenty of times when a guy would be like, fuck you, Scarps. I'm pissed. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk.
Yep.
I'm going to tell the fucking referees to go fuck themselves, or I'm going to tell the media to go fuck themselves. And I'd give them some time to cool off. And I'd go back and say, hey, you know what? I understand your frustration, but this is not going to be good for you short term or long term. It's not going to be. And you know what? George Pickens gets up there and is like, yeah, it's up to Art. And then, because when I heard that comment, I'm like, is he fucking talking about Art the second?
That's what I thought when I first read it. Yeah.
And you know what, though? He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
And they knew this. When they drafted him,
it sounded like when he said it's up to Art, it sounded to me like he was daring him. Like he's like, I dare you to take me out of the game plan.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So this is on you, Art. You took me, you diminished my role this week, and this is why the offense didn't play well enough. That was my take on it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have the whole story, but there's some shit going on there. And the dude needs an attitude check. You're dead right. He's not taking care of the little things that he can take care of. The biggest is his attitude and his level of effort.
Devil's advocate. Is Arthur Smith using him properly? Is he using him at all? Is he?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Hold on.
He did scheme.
Sorry.
Do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Go
All right.
there.
I'm throwing it. I want. Yeah.
This was. I don't. Derek, friend of the show on Twitter, reposted this. I don't remember which guy it was breaking down the play, but it was some former quarterback that they schemed a play where
I think it was Orlovsky.
It probably was that, it was a play action boot to the right, and Fields is supposed to roll out to the right, and you've got crossers coming across the field. And Orlovsky or whoever it was did a great job of saying, okay, like on this play, the timing should be that the quarterback is hitting the hash mark at the same time as the receiver, so that he has this pretty clear window to throw the ball into, or at least they're running at the same pace across the field. And Pickens comes off the line and is kind of jogging across the field. He's not going full effort.
No.
And Fields is at the far hash, and Pickens isn't even to the near hash yet. And it's like that difference, and I think on the play, Fields wound up like running out of bounds for a gain of 3 yards or something like that.
Right.
But it's things like that where you can't blame Justin Fields necessarily for George Pickens not running at full speed across the field and being where he's supposed to be on that play. If Fields runs at full speed and is where he's supposed to be, he's open, and that's a 10 to 15 yard completion instead of a 3 yard run out of bounds. So some of Fields' struggles could also be receivers not getting open or not giving full effort or whatever it is.
He ran a corner route, and that was one of the ones. That was when I realized that Pickens was, as you put it, loafing. And at the time I said, he's playing half-assed.
Yeah.
It was Fields overthrew him on a corner route, which, isn't really, it's a corner route, but, it's within the I don't know, 15 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And he overthrew him, and it was because Pickens wasn't there in time. And the reason I knew he wasn't was the last handful of steps before the ball got there, he was running like half speed. And then when the ball was over his head, he didn't try to accelerate to catch it. And I was just like, he doesn't fucking care. He doesn't fucking care. And Derek, as you mentioned, Ian, highlighted this, and he's like, inexcusable level of effort. Inexcusable. I don't care if that was my high school coach, that guy would have gotten benched. 100%. Without question. Yeah. Without question. But it's the NFL, so, things happen, and they pull guys aside, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? What's your problem? Then they put him back in because they think they're going to pick it up, and then he doesn't, And
Scarps, what's the conversation going on in the Steelers locker room, offices, coach's office, whatever, come Monday? Because there's got to be a conversation with this kid, right? So are you guys made aware?
Honestly, I don't know if there is, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I don't know. I think
Zach Adani seems really shy.
Well, you know what, Ben, he doesn't seem shy, but at what point do you understand that this man can't be reached? You know what I mean? Like,
I 100% agree with you. And that's what I've been saying.
Nice Guns N' Roses reference, by the way.
I've been saying
what we got here is what he wants.
Failure to communicate.
It's exactly what we talked about a little bit ago, and he saw it last year, and it didn't matter. He didn't get sat down. They were fined. He and DJ were fined a bunch of money, but it's like, whatever. I just gotta stick this thing out for 4 years. Well, then I'm gonna get my big contract, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. And the way he measures, he's one of these kids who measures success, just like AB did. I can tell whoever disagrees with me to fuck off because I am successful. That's the way he measures success. And that's not success. That's not real success.
So
That's being a fucking asshole because you can.
Well, it's getting your money, getting your fantasy points for people.
I hope he pulls his head out of his ass. I really do.
I do too. This is not about hating on the kid. It's about wanting him to be better.
I don't think he's going to, man. I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know. He's shown me enough to where like I said, I'm done with it. Like
I know. Hey, Ryan, I don't begrudge you that take at all.
Getting back to Arthur
like
Smith.
I said, I'm hopeful. Anyway, go on.
No.
Do you remember? Sorry, one last thing.
Go ahead.
Do you remember when they benched Santonio Holmes in, I think it was 2008 against the Giants?
Yes.
After he did some stupid shit off the field.
We lost that game.
Yeah,
we lost that game. Yes,
that was the wake and bake week.
Yes,
yeah.
that was a guy who
woke
was a
up,
former first-round pick.
He woke up. He'd already
Super
been
Bowl
suspended.
MVP.
Yeah,
he'd already been suspended.
Well, no, that was later.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been yet. You're right.
Yeah,
and he tweeted time to wake and bake when he got up.
Yes.
But they benched his ass for that game, and then he kind of figured some things out and went on to be Super Bowl MVP that same season.
Yeah,
they were and maybe this is the flip side of the Tomlin question. Is Tomlin living in his fears so much of like having the offense completely shit the bed? We talked about this last year. Are they so afraid of potentially having a losing season
that
fair. They will let let these guys play even though they're just shitting on everyone?
I don't know if again, I want to get away from we might have a losing season. Can we set that aside? Because I don't think Tomlin gives a shit. I think he wants to win. Yeah. But is there some motivation to let these fuckers keep playing no matter? Yes, there is. And I don't understand it. I agree with you. I mean, especially, I'm sorry, as a young man, fucking up is part of being a young man.
Yes.
Like making mistakes is part of it. But so is facing the fucking consequences for making mistakes. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
Well,
God damn it.
But go back to what Ian was saying too about Santonio Holmes, and this is something we already talked about. What was the common denominator with that team? Really good, strong veteran leadership too.
Yep,
that's something this team doesn't have.
Yeah,
and on that team,
and and as much as I shit on Arthur Smith, I want to give him credit because, at least to me, he has, and this is to his fault, he has a system. If you don't buy into it, you get reduced snaps. So I don't think George Pickens is buying in. I think Van Jefferson is buying in, but Van Jefferson isn't as good as George Pickens.
Van Jefferson sucks.
Okay, and that is detrimental to the team. Because he isn't as skilled as George Pickens. But George Pickens has a terrible attitude. But I respect that Arthur Smith has a system and he wants people to buy in. But as much as that system impacts George Pickens, it also impacts Najee Harris because Najee is not good right now. I'm not saying it's just him. I just think overall that these guys aren't locked in and they're not buying in. But getting back to Pickens, again, and I said this earlier this week, I would bet $1,000 right now that he is going to have a 100-yard game on Sunday with a touchdown, and everybody's going to be back on the Pickens bandwagon and be like, "Oh, I told you, he's the GOAT, he's elite, he's an alien," or whatever. And then the next week when Sauce Gardner locks him down. And
I agree with everything you're saying, and we're going to go right back to where we are.
Yep. And he throws his helmet at some poor old lady in the front row. No,
Mrs. Smith, get out of the way.
No, and let me.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was just the way you phrased that was so funny.
No, but I just like, and Ian and I talked. It's a full transparency. Ian and I talked about this offline a little bit ago. Ian sent me an article about how, and Ian and I are both millennials, but Ian and I talked about how millennials communicate, and millennials tend to use certain phrases, and it's funny that I laugh about this, and Aaron laughs about this too, but this whole he's elite, no cap.
He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT and all this stuff. It is spot on about how I feel about Steelers Sunshine Twitter, because it is just this constant sort of like putting Pickens on this pedestal because he posts cryptic messages on Instagram, or he has a highlight reel catch or this and that, and I'm just like who gives a shit? Like, would you rather have George Pickens catch 3 balls for 37 yards and we win by 14, or Pickens have 7 for $114 and a touchdown and we lose by 3? What would you rather have? I'm going to go with the former, but as long as George Pickens gets his and he's happy, you would go with the latter.
Well,
I'm just never going to ever understand that.
And we've talked about this for all the years that we've been on the podcast, the fact that the wide receiver position by nature leads into that diva thing where the stats matter, and it's above the team. And I often think back to the Steelers, the Super Bowl 43 when you had Santonio and you had Hines and Nate Washington. Then you go back before that. Go back to Super Bowl 40. You had Antoine Randall,
Cedric Wilson.
You had Hines,
who they cut.
Yeah. But those were just dudes, man. But they were hardworking guys that they didn't care about the stats. And I think deep down, I think there were days when Hines did. But as long as they won the game.
And Hines and Mark, I'm a little buzzed, but like Hines had that hold in, right? What year was that? 2007?
Oh,
yeah.
I want to say,
yeah, I think it was 7 or 8, maybe.
It was after Super Bowl 40.
Yeah.
So Hines had that hold in, just like TJ did a couple years ago, right?
Right.
Okay.
And he did say in retrospect that was the worst thing he ever did, but yes.
But my point is that if that's the biggest knock you have on Hines, which TJ did a couple years ago,
right?
Then to me that's a win for Hines. And I've said this on the show many times, and I often find myself saying on the show that I've said this on the show many times. But
I think we all do that.
Yeah.
But Hines Ward is I'm trying to think of the word. Hold on a second.
Drink.
It actually works against Hines Ward for his Hall of Fame credentials that he was a football player first and foremost. And that's what we need more of on this team.
Yeah.
But that goes back to something that Kevin Colbert always talked about, was he was like, there are guys who love football and guys who love being football players, and we want guys who love football. But I think Pickens is a guy who loves being a football player.
Yep.
I'm not sure if he's a guy who loves football.
But I mean, what did Kevin ever do as a GM, though? I mean, he's just some bum,
Just built 2 Super Bowl winning teams,
Hey.
He's definitely not the con artist.
Kevin traded for Minka Fitzpatrick, but nevertheless.
No, that was Omar, Ian. Come on, relax.
It was all Omar. It was all the con artist.
It was all the con artist, right. But and Kevin,
the best player, the best defensive player in football right now.
That's also true.
That's true. He also, you could argue.
By the way, happy birthday, TJ Watt. He's 30 now.
He got lucky, Ben. Kevin got lucky for drafting TJ.
Got lucky. Well, he got lucky. The Cowboys didn't take him. They took Taco Charlton instead.
There were a lot of other guys
who ended up playing for the Steelers briefly.
Yeah. There were a lot of other guys who could have taken him too.
On the practice squad.
Right.
Yeah. He traded up and took Troy Polamalu. That was an okay pick,
Yeah, pretty good-ish.
Pretty good.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I think the other thing to Ryan's point about broader Twitter audiences, especially, and this was something Ryan and I were talking about, that like the discourse these days is more about, I got receipts and I want to dunk on people and I care more about my opinion being right than actually engaging with someone's ideas, or I care more about my opinion being right than the team doing well. Like, how many times on this show have we talked about that there are people out there who would rather see the Steelers lose because they hate Mike Tomlin and want their opinion about Tomlin proved right than to see the Steelers win a Super Bowl because Tomlin's the coach? Like, I would take, I don't care if I hate the head coach. If they win a Super Bowl, they win a Super Bowl.
Exactly. You're right.
Or
Satan could be the head coach, and I don't care if he wins.
Well, Ian, I'm gonna pee after I say this, but I'm gonna follow this up with, it's about
information.
Hey, listen, it's about being right, but then it's also about I don't believe what you're telling me, and I'm gonna say this right now, and I tweeted this earlier. So Minka Fitzpatrick allows the highest passer rating in the league when targeted. Minimum 15 targets, and it's 153.8. When people target Minka, he's 16 of 19. Sorry, when quarterbacks target Minka, they're 16 of 19 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. This information comes from Pro Football Reference /StatHead. I didn't make this up. Okay?
It's definitely not PFF.
But the people in my mentions are like, well, Pro Football Reference, so Pro Football Focus has him at this. Oh, so wait a minute. So now you like Pro Football Focus. So I'm posting information.
Tell them that Pro Football Focus also, and I talked about this during the game last week because Collinsworth lauded Joey Porter Jr.
Right.
I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. Pro Football Focus has Joey Porter Jr. ranked like 88th out of 93 corners or something fucking ridiculous, which is, and he's like, Joey Porter Jr. shut down corner to the Steelers grab there. He's really turning things around for the Steelers there.
I like that impression.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
But
your shitty products has him ranked in the bottom
one you
10.
bought.
So here's my point. Is that you don't like Pro Football Reference. I'm sorry, you don't like Pro Football Focus, and now you don't like Pro Football Reference, and you're going to use this.
Is math, dude. That's all that is.
And
they're just like, hey, he was targeted, it was completed, or it wasn't.
Okay.
This many yards, the touchdowns.
But I have people questioning my source here, my source, and I'm literally saying I didn't make this up. It's Pro Football Reference. It's StatHead. It's what it is. But then it becomes, I want to see the all 22 on these targets. I want to see this and that.
It's
whatever.
Not
like,
opinion, though.
I know you have a Minka Fitzpatrick jersey. I know you got his fucking poster on your wall like David Cassidy in 1976. But I'm going. I am
73.
I think I love you, but what I really want to say right now is that yes, there is context and nuance, and I didn't even say Minka sucks. It's his fault. I simply just said, here's the information that's out there, and I want to relay this information. Do I want to have a conversation about the context nuance? Of course. But I do want to say that Minka Fitzpatrick hasn't produced a turnover or been a part of a turnover in a long time. And he is supposed to be back to playing his playing center field, playing his natural position, and all this stuff. And yet he's not producing. And this goes back to the fact that you would rather die on the hill that, well, hey, I love Minka and he's a great player. But when there's evidence to support that he's not playing well right now, you will go out of your way to say that I am wrong, even with evidence, or anybody's wrong with evidence.
People are doing the same thing with Pickens. and
yes.
that's in the face of Pickens obviously loafing, and they're making excuses for the loafing, for the poor effort, the fucking half-assed, as I put it, half-assed effort on the field. It's exactly the same. It's like I fell in love with this guy because he can do this thing, and it's amazing. And there's a limited number of human beings who can do it. I get it, but if he's not going to be willing to do that on every single snap, why the fuck do you need him?
And it's also further proof why we have said for many years on this program, you don't ever buy the jersey of a rookie football player.
A rookie football contract.
Right. If you're a rookie.
Unless you're Garmin, and then you went ahead and you bought TJ Watt. So Garmin forever, Garmin can buy rookie jerseys. It's fine.
That's
apparently when he buys them,
it works out.
Yeah. The guy
where the hell happened to Garmin? I haven't heard from him in years.
I don't know.
Be that as it may.
Are we scheduled to start the same exact offensive line this week as we did last week?
I think so. Yes.
I think that'll be the first time all year.
No.
There was just maybe one or two other times.
So McCormick and Sam Alou are playing at guard.
Yep.
And Frazier, obviously. How about Frazier, man? Fucking rookie of the year. Jesus Christ.
He is easily rookie of the year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think that's going to be a question. I hate to go here. Dan Moore. How come we talk about everybody else, but Dan Moore just keeps plugging away and doing a decent job? He's not
doing
great.
Better this year. He's not good, but he's way better than he was.
Right. But we don't sit here every day talking about, oh fuck, Dan Moore screwed up again.
No, we talked about this in the offseason. He's going to have a contract. They're not going to re-sign him, but he's going to have a contract in the offseason. And the dude is probably, I mean, seriously, he's going to sign like a $40 million contract.
He's going to get paid.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
And again, if it was me and you, we would be like, okay, this is our one time. It's the big money. We take the money. We live on a little tiny bit of it, and we put it away, and we live on that for the rest of our fucking lives, and it's all good. It's going to be for him, it's going to be like life-changing money.
Oh, my God. I mean, the dude has started over 50 games now.
Yeah.
And for a guy who was a fourth-round pick, I mean, you got to credit him for his work ethic and his effort. And, he might not be the most physically talented guy, but he goes out there and tries.
And he shuts out the noise, too. Idiots like us, he doesn't pay attention.
He's not good. He's mediocre as fuck.
He's had a pretty good year, though.
Fuck.
No,
he's
right. That's what we're saying, Scarps. He's had a very nice year.
Dude is getting paid. When he leaves, he's getting paid.
Yeah.
And he is leaving.
He's fucking better than Broderick Jones. There's another bum. I had a couple drinks that I just say.
I'm going to take you to task on that one.
Let's go.
I think he's improving. I'm not saying I'm not going to agree with you that he's
especially
a bum,
as a run blocker.
But I think he's finally, now that he's got a solid position and he knows he's going to have a solid position, he's been better.
That's
all I'm going to say.
I don't like his punch.
No,
I
still think
how he thinks about Broderick Jones.
I still think his elbow is fucked up.
I do too.
The way he was winning last year was with his punch, and it ain't there. But that said, I'm not thinking that the guy long term is going to be terrible, but he's not healthy, and I respect the fact that he's not making excuses about it.
He has not made one.
I'm out. I'm healthy enough to play. I gotta play. I gotta play better. That's all he's ever said.
I mean, I think he needs to do better, but I also think Pat Meyer is not the best offensive.
I had higher hopes for him. I'm not overly.
But then again, Dan Moore's actually probably having his best year he's ever had so far.
Dan Moore in a contract season is doing okay, isn't he?
Until wait till he plays Myles Garrett in 2 weeks, 2 times in a matter of 6 or 7 weeks.
Garrett's got the ankle problems right now,
right now.
But,
Garrett,
and we'll see. I mean,
They
if he
suck.
can stay healthy, if he shows up healthy, it'll be a problem. Yeah,
Ian,
you're right.
Ian, do
Hey,
you?
speaking
Yeah.
of our favorite Cleveland Browns player, does anybody know how many plays he made last week that actually appeared on the stat sheet?
No.
According to Pro Football
I believe
Focus.
it was this. That's a 0.
Mark is correct. He pulled a complete Blutarski. It was a 0 tackles. He didn't even get an assisted tackle. It was 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 passes
0.0.
defended,
Well,
0 everything across
In
the
his
board.
defense, it was a very close game, and they didn't allow like 30 points or anything.
Yeah,
What
you know,
was his
you would
pass-
expect the
What was
defensive
his
player of
pass
the year.
rush win rate?
Seriously,
Yeah.
what? Seriously, what was the score? What was
So-
the final? When
so
I
here's-
last checked, it was 34-6.
What
was
I
the
think
final
that's what
score?
it was.
So getting
that
back to
final?
my Minka stat from Pro Football Reference.
Philip, I
which is
actually had to
incredible.
check. When I looked at the Browns box score, I actually had to check like the snap counts to see if he
Mhm.
actually played. So yeah, that's a
So-
valid question.
Why does Aaron bring things like this up? Why does he try to bring context to this program? No, I think Watt actually had a couple tackles in that game.
He did.
Yeah.
Final point about that is that the same people that mock Myles Garrett for their Pro Football Focus
Yes.
stats are the ones that are coming at me right now and saying, well, Minka's actually playing better than the fucking Pro Football Reference, which is a much credible source, is telling you. Like you can't pick and choose. You can't anyway.
Well, but that's the
Yeah,
thing,
if-
Ryan, is they can
If
pick and
PFF
choose.
sucks,
If
if PFF sucks, it sucks all the time. And by
Right.
the way, PFF
Exactly.
sucks all
All
the
the
time.
time.
But
Yeah.
but
Fucking
what does it suck, Ben?
Bullshit. It
What
sucks
does it suck?
Donkey balls.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Mark leaned back so far he took the lights out.
I am like, ooh, what's going on? I'm waiting for this bulb to go out anytime. So,
I almost just threw
This
up.
Friday night podcast is off the rails. This is like an
It-
overtime level podcast. On a
it
Friday
kind of, I
night.
kind of was thinking it was going to be, to be real honest with you.
It's only we're
Uh,
only an hour 22 in. It's fine.
Crazy. Feels like we've been on for 10 minutes. It's been an hour and
It's
22 minutes.
fine.
We haven't even
Oh,
talked about this week's game. You know,
Well, we'll get to that. We are playing
Probably
the Las
should.
Vegas Raiders. Aiden O'Connell's going to start at quarterback, which means he's probably going to throw for 3 TDs and 350. I look.
I think it's going to be the battle of mediocre quarterbacks, man. I mean,
I think whoever makes the fewer mistakes.
I think the Raiders are going to throw the ball short a lot and every once in a while throw it long, but Devontae Adams isn't playing. So that makes it difficult, man.
Yeah.
so
Now-
Jacoby Myers and some other guy we've never heard of are going to light us up, right?
God.
Trey Tucker.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nightmare. Crosby did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. He was limited today, and he's not
playing.
on the final report.
Yeah, he'll play.
He'll
Yeah,
play. He's going to be dinged, but he will play.
he's like Polamalu, and I don't mean that in like.
No, I know what you mean.
Sorry, that was blasphemy. I apologize. It's Troy. We go. He's like the Polamalu practice schedule. No practice to practice
Right.
and limited on a Friday.
Right.
You know who has better numbers than Kenny Pickett, by the way?
Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Kyle Allen. I don't know. Pick someone.
Minshew. Hey, I got to give props to Kyle Allen. I mean, the dude comes in. He only took 2 snaps. He handed the ball off, and then he threw a freaking dart to Freiermuth over the middle.
But by the way, Ohio State fans swear to me that he only completed that pass because the Cowboys were expecting a run. That's all. That's the only reason.
Okay, hold on. Let's fucking talk about this though. All right. Hi, Vinny. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Vinny. Sorry, we had
Hey,
tech
Vinny.
problems last
Vinny's
night.
coming in at the right time. Our offense is so dang predictable that we're gonna line up on 2nd and 4 and run the ball again and lose 3 yards. Like everybody knows what's coming. We've looked like crap running the ball against 2 of the worst run defenses in the league because they know absolutely what's coming because we're so friggin' predictable. It's like,
Yeah.
Arthur Smith, first down, here comes a run. Up 2nd and 5, here comes another run. Up
We're
3rd
playing
down.
another shitty one this week too.
Exactly. So, maybe these teams against the there's things open in the passing game because teams are expecting a run, because we do it all the friggin' time. Maybe we need to change some things up a little bit to, mix up the pattern of the offense to, throw some teams off guard. You're allowed to throw the ball on like 2nd down and 4.
Doesn't it go with what we've been saying though about living in fears? It's like Tomlin just doesn't want to do that. He would much rather just be in 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 5 and not risk.
He wants to get like 3rd and 1 is what he wants.
You're right. But it's like if we throw the ball on 1st down and it's incomplete, it's like instead of 2nd and 10 for him, it's like 2nd and 1,000,000. And
1st down incompletion. It's like, well, we got to run the ball now to get into 3rd and 7, guys.
Right.
Which is the stupidest thing in the
somebody said this week on the Twitters that this is a must-win game for the Steelers. Aren't they almost? I mean, in what respect, Ian?
If they have the second half of the schedule is brutal.
Yeah,
they can only afford to take so many losses in the first half. So, if all of a sudden you go from 3-1 to 3-4, I don't know, 3-5, like things could go off the rails quickly here.
Yeah.
That said, there were some like pretty good quotes out of the locker room this week that I thought were actually kind of encouraging.
Yeah.
That people were like, "Oh, we're not down on ourselves. Yeah, we lost a couple games. We're going to come in. We're going to put in the work and try and practice better." And
positive.
Yeah. So I think it, from the sounds of things, it sounds like their heads are in the right place. It's just they got to come out and execute against a bad team. But
in their place. My understanding though is that,
but Vegas is one of those
Steelers
places
Nation
where
will be well represented.
They'll represent.
Shit though.
Yeah, Vegas is one of those places where they almost never have an actual home game because everyone's like, "Oh, our team's in Vegas this year. Let's buy tickets and go to Vegas." So not just Steelers fans, but all opposing fans want to go to Vegas. So yeah, I think they do need to win this one for the long term. If they lose this one, things could go off the rails pretty quickly.
And then we have back-to-back prime time games against the two New York teams.
Yeah.
I believe one on a Sunday and then one on a Monday, or a Monday then
Play
a Sunday.
The Jets on a Monday?
We do. Yeah.
Jets are Sunday night, I thought.
Yeah, Jets are Sunday,
Jets are
and
Sunday
the following week
with Devontae Adams.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With Devontae Adams.
Yeah, well, I don't.
You think that trade will go through?
No, I meant the Jets will have Devontae Adams.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
I knew what you meant. You think the Jets may play? Okay, fine.
So Aiden O'Connell starting. I think he's going to try and rely heavily on Brock Bowers. I did see that, and did you guys hear this? But Meyer, the other good tight end for the Raiders, he's not active for personal reasons. Does anybody see why?
I thought he has an illness. Doesn't Michael? Doesn't
he? Okay, because the last thing I saw on
illness, they would list that as illness.
Right. It said
reasons,
not active personal reasons. Like maybe his wife's having a kid or something. I don't know.
I mean, hey, if that's the case, good decision, dude. Good for you.
It says due to a personal issue.
Yeah, and I caught me off guard because those are two real nice tight ends, and we know how the Steelers sometimes do with tight ends. Not
forget to cover them.
Yeah. So yeah, Vinny mentioned that AB returns to Pittsburgh next week for the big tailgate. I think he's.
Really? We really don't need to talk about two assholes. Two assholes.
Right.
Two selfish fucking assholes.
Yeah, it's this week, isn't it?
It is. It's this week in Vegas. Him and Bell.
Yeah, they're in Vegas.
We don't need to discuss this.
Yet you're discussing it.
Sorry, Ben.
I brought it up. It's my fault.
That's true.
Two selfish assholes.
Yeah, jackasses. How do you guys see this game playing out? Anybody want to take a prediction first?
Close.
Yeah, I'll go.
Go for it.
Casey's going to touch on this earlier about our wonderful success against the
Yeah.
Raiders on the
Yeah.
road. Last week, at the very last minute, I went against the Steelers because I want to jinx them, and the Cowboys won.
Yeah.
That's why we lost, because you're a fucking
Yeah.
asshole and you picked against them.
I accept it. I embrace it.
Yeah.
If Devontae Adams was playing, I would probably pick the Raiders.
Yeah, so would
But
I.
I would say this, and here we go. Y'all recording this?
Yes.
If the Steelers don't score 30 points this Sunday at between 4:25 and 7:30,
The game
we are
starts
doomed.
at 4:05.
I thought it was 4:25.
4:05.
4:05.
Well, by the time they actually score, it'll be 4:25. But anyway,
Yeah.
Well, touche.
Yes.
if they don't score 30 points this weekend, we should hit the panic button.
They're not scoring 30 points.
And they're not.
I agree.
But they
No.
But they should.
24
They
maybe.
should.
I see what you're saying.
But going back to my Casey, I feel that this is just a bad matchup. This is a letdown game to get the 3-3, and then they'll win the next two to get the 5-3 before the bye.
Okay.
It's gonna be
All right.
something weird like that.
The Robert
maybe-
Spillane revenge game?
Maybe. No, fuck it. I'm going Steelers 24-17.
Okay.
Wow.
I like that.
7-point
I like
win.
that.
Huh.
All right. Ben, take it. What do you got?
I got a little bit closer game than the Scarpino has. I'm gonna go Steelers 23, Raiders 21. I think that's gonna
Whoa! Is that a
close.
Boswell game winner?
Hey,
be a
yo.
close game.
Okay.
The battle of two mediocre quarterbacks. We're gonna be still underwhelmed by Justin Fields. Going, dude, you have so much ability. Could you just uncork the ball on time? It's
Okay.
we're gonna be left undazzled. But I think we're gonna hit week 9 at 6-2, not 5-3. And
Wow.
that after winning 3 in a row, Steelers Nation is again going to be talking Super Bowl, man. We're going all the way. And if you don't believe it, you're not a real fan. Shut
It's like
the fuck
going
up.
into the place on the strip and listening to all the old
Yeah.
Super Bowl
We're-
songs from the
We're
70s.
barely gonna win 3 games in a row, and people are gonna be screaming Super Bowl.
You know,
and Scarpino's gonna be going, Steelers Twitter's fucking bullshit. And I'm coming in
it's
hot
true.
tonight.
I'm not wrong though.
I'm coming in hot tonight, and they're full of shit. And I'm gonna tell them. Okay, I
Yeah,
mean he's
I
not
know.
wrong. He's
I
not
know.
wrong.
No,
I
he's
know.
I'm just saying.
yeah,
Aaron,
Ian, what do
you're
you got
wrong.
for this one?
Well, somebody's got
Hope
to
you're
say
right
it.
though, Aaron.
Oh God, no.
All right.
Go for it.
The time
Ryan-
zone.
Ryan's actually without Roethlisberger, they've been pretty good in other time zones. Freaking Duck Hodges won in Los Angeles.
True.
All right. So Ryan
he
said
was
he was
bending.
going full heel this podcast, but I'm not going to try and one up Ryan here. But here's what I'll say. Vinny mentioned in the chat that Spillane's going to get a pick. Not only is this the Robert Spillane revenge game, but Getsy, the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, was Justin Fields' former coordinator in Chicago and is also a Pittsburgh guy. His brother's actually the coach at Franklin Regional High School out in Murraysville. But at any rate, so that all being said, the Steelers, Aiden O'Connell comes out throwing the ball.
Yep.
Some no-name guys light us up.
Yep.
We're down 14-3 at the half. They go to Russell Wilson. He leads 2 touchdown drives in the second half. Boswell kicks a field goal, and what do you get to 20? We wind up winning the game 20-17.
Jesus, dude. That is a really detailed explanation.
That is very detailed.
My God.
All I've got is Steelers 23, Raiders 16. That was
Okay.
my whole thing right
So
there.
you and Scarps are both going with a 7-point win. Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're all on the Steelers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck it. I'm doing it
Shut
again.
up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Shut up,
I'm just kidding.
asshole!
I'm just kidding.
I if I get this one wrong this week though, then I might be going anti-Raiders
You know,
anti-Steelers the rest of the
I
week
just call
here.
it the way I see it every week.
Yeah.
And if I think the Steelers are going to win, I call it that way. And if I think they're going to lose,
Yeah,
I call it that way.
Somebody had to
beat.
Somebody
the
had to
Raiders.
predict Russell Wilson coming into this game, so I will take the bullet for the.
I'm good with that.
on that one.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Is Casey Kasem available?
Always.
All right.
We're
From the
95
grave.
minutes in. We are 95 minutes
Yes,
in.
we are. Ladies and gentlemen, from the grave, Mr. Casey Kasem.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was October 11th, 1977. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, what has 4 wheels and flies? A garbage truck.
Oh my God.
That's
Ryan
a,
has fully embraced the dad joke.
Where is that? In,
Right.
in
Right.
Florida?
It's not quite 9 arms and it sucks, but you know.
that is a solid dad joke, coined by none other than Herman Munster. Speaking of dad, I'm not sure if you know this, Casey, but I'm going to be a dad again. The missus and I are expecting a little girl next April. But don't worry, Casey, we're not going to end up like Ian, who's doing it like the Von Trapps. Ian is more potent than a fart in a porta-john at Woodstock 99.
I love it. This is great.
I'm only kidding, Ian. A couple
really,
more
though.
toddlers, Ian, and you'll have as many as the Steelers locker room. Speaking of traps, the Steelers have a trap game this Sunday. They face the Raiders on the road. What could go wrong? By the way, Ian, help me write this a little bit. I appreciate you, Ian.
I gave him a couple ideas.
Now it's a collaboration.
We got there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. With Casey, the more the merrier. Who could forget Ben Roethlisberger's 15 interceptions in Oakland in 2006?
Yeah.
Ben must have been in a few bathrooms the night before that game.
Wow.
Relax. They're just jokes. Much like the Raiders quarterback that day, Andrew Walter, who sounds like the guy you stuffed in a locker in high school. What about 2012 when a 97-year-old Carson Palmer threw for 3 touchdowns? Or 2013, I'm certain Terrell Pryor is still running.
Yeah.
That was the day you officially knew the Steelers' defense was old and slow. How could we forget 2018 when Boz fell on his ass for the game-winning kick?
Oh, God.
But don't forget, that was the game when Ben Roethlisberger couldn't get an X-ray because the Raiders had the first ever X-ray machine. In fact, Ben Roethlisberger had to hitchhike to Fremont to get cleared to come back into the game. Casey and the Steelers' last 5 games on the road against the Raiders, they are 1-4. Let's look deeper. In the season, they lost the game on the road to the Raiders. They missed the playoffs. Their lone victory, which happened in 2023, they made the postseason. Who could forget former Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett's game of his career in Vegas last year? 57% completion, 2 touchdowns, and 235 yards. Casey, thinking about that game? Well, it just moved.
Costanza reference.
Wow. We wronged KP8. He's the greatest of all time, and we're going to regret trading him to Philly for a cheesesteak and a broccoli Rob replica of Rocky. Remind me, though, who led the Steelers to the playoffs last year? Mason Rudolph. Mason, just remember, I love you. Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars and keep your radio tune right where it is. Up 4 spots this week to number 2020. Sorry, up 4 spots this week to number 22. Here's Firefall with Just Remember I Love You.
Oh.
Now that's obscure right there.
Yeah, it is.
Firefall. Love it. Love it. Again, thanks for being with us tonight, everybody, on this unusual Friday night program. Hopefully my internet will again be fully functioning next Thursday night at our usual time slot. And make sure you check everything out at steelcityblitz.com. Follow us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, kids, and much more. And thanks, of course, to everyone who tunes in every single week. We love you guys. It absolutely makes our day to see you guys here with us, regardless of what day it is. So thank you so much. And good luck to the Steelers this weekend. We could really use a W, and I'll just leave it at that. Go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Ooh. Not really, though. Sorry.
Yeah,
I wish.
well, yeah.
I wish.